As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 80 of Zero to Hero. I can't believe that we have made it 80 episodes already. It's flying by. It's been crazy. We've got another great guest coming at you today. I don't know how we keep finding these people and getting so lucky, but we do. And her name is Andrea Luzon. She is from Legacy Liberation Coaching and ADHD Love Legacy. She's doing great things with, helping out kids or parents really that have those wild childs, right? Like the spirited kids that are out there like all of us do. So let's go ahead and bring her in. Andrea, how are you this morning?
Hello. Thank you, Gina, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And you're joining us from a beautiful spot back there. We were talking about your background, so you're getting a little R&R out there, getting a little rejuvenation going on, it sounds like.
Yes, I'm based in Kansas City, but for the last 2 weeks, I have been in north central Minnesota.
Yeah, beautiful. It looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm sure you're having a good time out there. So tell us a little bit about what you've got going on, what you're doing with the kids and the parents.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for asking. My work, I can tell you my origin story of why I'm so passionate about this work, but I'll tell you a little bit about the transformation that I support people with. Really, I've noticed that so many of us are noticing that we are not neurotypical. So neuro is brain and typical is kind of what our academia and our society are geared towards. So there's so much more neurodivergence than we have ever thought. So many people over the age of 40 are receiving diagnoses for ADHD, maybe ODD, sensory processing disorders. I don't like the term disorder, but I want to be here for the people who are identifying with some of those neurodivergent tendencies. So specifically, that is parents that might be self-identifying, or a parent who is in a family of someone who is identifying as neurodivergent. So that's ADHD, ODD, sensory processing disorder, and autism spectrum disorder as well.
Amazing, amazing. So it's something that's being talked more about now. I feel like, and I feel like it was very frowned upon when we were growing up. Of if you've got one of these things, you're kind of out there, right? You're an outcast, or you're wild, or whatever the case is. What do you think? Where do you think that transformation came in, where we are like, you know what? No, we need to start talking about this stuff. This is serious. It's things that people that deal with. That's real.
Mhm. Yeah, it seems that the older generation, I'm sure every generation says the older generation, but it seems there was more shame around mental health challenges. If you were stressed or overwhelmed, it's because you can't handle it. And now it seems that the younger generations, like, I don't know, maybe 50 and under, 30 and under, definitely a lot of people are really taking ownership of, I have a therapist, I have a life coach, I'm in a support group. It just seems that we have more acceptance in the younger generation of letting people self-identify with whatever feels true for them. And so I know that it does seem like more and more diagnoses are happening, and that people are more willing to say, I need help. I would
Yeah.
like some help. So I want to be there for those parents of those wild-hearted, those really spirited children who don't seem to, they know what they want, but they oftentimes can't put the left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot to get to the goal. That's been the struggle in my family, and so that's why I want to support other families that are having that tendency.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny. I was listening to Theo Vaughn's podcast this past weekend, and I don't remember who the guest was that he was talking about, but they were talking about, some of these things, and he's like, "Man, it's almost like a cool thing now to have a therapist." And I think that's a little extreme, right? Like, I don't think anybody's like running around like getting like cool points by like, hey, I talked to a therapist, but I have seen that transformation, right? And it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's definitely more acceptable per se, right? To
Mhm.
really focus on those things and more encouraged. So definitely
Mhm.
a beautiful thing as a Marine myself. We used to get nicks and cuts and banged and bruised, right? And it was like kind of the same thing, but with our bodies. They're like, you don't go to med call,
Mhm.
you don't get work done, right? And I think that even changed within the Marine Corps. So I think it's very powerful, that people are becoming more willing to take care of themselves and really focus on that. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So let's go ahead and get into it here, Andrea. So outside of the coaching, okay, and outside of everything that you do, and I know those things are very mingled, right? Because it comes from a personal story, but in a couple sentences, tell us, who is Andrea Luzon?
Oh my goodness. Wow. I would say that I'm a trauma recovered coach. I am a mother of a child. I'm a mother of twins, and one of those children was diagnosed quite early. The tendencies of self harm and overutilization of physicality to express discontent. So yeah, just a little bit of aggressiveness and anyway, so that journey, that parenting journey and my own trauma recovery myself led me to just a really tough time. And I know we're going to get to the more of that later, but a really tough time. I chose a safe job for many, many years, and it just led me to a darker place. And then that is when I said, this can't be all there is. Like, America has it wrong. There's
Yeah.
got to be more. There's got to be more. And so then that's when I began my journey of wanting to figure out, who am I really outside of motherhood, outside of corporate America, outside of being a wife and a homeowner, outside of all the doingness, all the busyness, all the things. Who's underneath all of that? And so that's what led me to want to stand for others, liberating their legacy, because I believe there's a legacy inside of all of us, and it doesn't just have to be the stereotypical way that our parents and their parents and their parents kind of fell in line throughout history.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to your point, when we kind of look outside of America and how other countries work, like I love Spain, right? They're like
Mhm.
middle of the day naps, they go back to work after the nap, and then they're hanging out at night later, right? And they're having fun because they've got that rest that they need, right? For their mental, which is just such a beautiful thing. And I think there's some huge production numbers that come out of that type of work as well, right? We saw a little bit of that when people shifted to kind of work from home and some of those corporate jobs, right? I mean, it was like stress was almost relieved, even though we were going through absolute chaos around the world. It was like, but we're working from home and my stress levels have gone down, right? Even in some of those stressful jobs. So I think we should definitely take a page outside of uh, from outside of America's book, right? And kind of bring that stuff in and focus on those things, which is really cool. Now, we kind of, in the beginning of the show, in that intro video, we talk about social media and how everybody starts from zero, right? Which is kind of where the theme of the show comes from to an extent. So tell us a little bit about your social media journey when you stepped out of corporate America, when you decided to go in to do something that you're really passionate about. What was it like getting those channels started, and where are you now?
Wow. Well, I would say I was a little late to the game. I didn't have an Instagram account in even in 2020. I think that's when I started, was in 2020. So I feel like I was real late to the game. But also that's because my head was really down in the busy work of my corporate job. I didn't find a need to have a personality or to be sharing. Also, I'm a little bit older, so I guess I was still on Facebook intermittently and just utilizing it more for social,
Yeah.
just being like, oh, it's so funny. I didn't even start posting things on Facebook until my mom, like, we talked a lot, and I would say, oh, I bought a dress or I bought a swimsuit. And she would say, take a picture, send me the picture. And that's when I was like, I'm just putting it all just yes, I'll take a photo of like a
Put 'em
flower
on Facebook.
or a dress that I bought, and it just all went up for a while. And then I went really dark. But coming out as an entrepreneur and wanting to step into social media was really crunchy in the sense that it was uncomfortable and I had no idea what to share, what not to share. How do you make a video? How do you make a reel? How do you add words to it? What is messaging? What do I stand for? And that's evolved even in the last 3 years. I've really found that working with the parents and with the families is really something that speaks to my heart. But it's interesting how many of my clients don't have any of that history. They don't have the connection to, they don't identify as neurodivergent, and yet they're having a lot of satisfaction with working with me. So the zero is just I didn't have a presence much at all in social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't, right? To make you feel better, I am a 2022 joiner of Instagram. So I got you I got you beat as far as being a little late to the party for sure. Yeah. And I same thing, right? I was in corporate America, I was working a corporate job and I was like, I don't need, any of that. I don't have time for it. I've got two kids myself, right? So many things going on. But man, it's fun. It's fun to connect with people that you might not connect with, outside of Instagram necessarily, right? That you might not run into, and doing it in a different way. So definitely glad that I have it now. But yeah, no, I think, when you do become an entrepreneur, especially in the field of work that you're in, um, a lot of people don't know, right, what they do have or what they don't have or what's going on, right? Because it was so shelled, right? So I love some of the videos that you put out where it's like, hey, you might have ADHD, right? Like, are you experiencing these kind of things, right? I've seen some of those videos, so I definitely love that, and I think you're doing a great job with making people feel comfortable, right, with the fact that they might have something going on, and it's okay, and let's talk about it. So keep doing that. It's awesome. Now,
Thank
every
you.
superhero, Andrea, has a defining moment. What do you think yours is when it comes to your life and career?
Oh, wow. It's my deepest zero moment was definitely like tasting the carpet of my closet for days because I was just a puddle on the floor crying. I think I had been stuffing emotions, kind of like what we talked about the older generation, just keeping yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going, keep going, keep going. You're fine, you're fine, you're fine.
Hmm.
So I had been doing that for 7 years, like not really liking my job, knowing it wasn't a good fit, um, being too afraid to really get outside the box, get outside my comfort zone, and really lean into, like, really stand in the truth that this isn't working. But I kept kind of faking it was working, and then that is what led to this dark, dark, dark moment of just like face in the carpet in my closet crying. And it was just like I think it was like I think my soul was just taking a 2 by 4 and cracking me across the head and telling me like, you are not going to survive this faking that you like this life if you don't do something different. You've got to do something different. So that was definitely my deepest, darkest moment. It was like right around the 7 year anniversary of being at a job that was marketed to me as one thing. And I was excited about it. And then it ended up being something else, which did not play to my strengths. It was very like analytical and a lot of documentation. And it just doesn't fit me. I am meant to work with people. I am meant to support people in solving problems, in like engaging in their life in a deeper way. I know that this is my calling now, but I had to hit that deepest, darkest place to really see that I just couldn't keep faking that I was meant for that other life. Yeah. So my journey started there. I would
Yeah,
say, or my reboot, like Andrea 2.0,
I
started in
love
that
it.
that shadow moment.
I love it. And that's such a good analogy, right? Of your soul kind of beating you over the head with a 2 by 4, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've felt that before, where it's like, what are you doing? Like, get out of here. You can't do this anymore. So that's so powerful. And I'm glad that you stepped out of it. That's awesome. I think a lot of people get that too, Andrea, and maybe don't realize it. or suppress it, right? Like you were saying, you just kind of shove it back down, right? Like get back down there, have you ever seen the movie Soul?
Yes. Wait, is this the Disney one with
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. The
piano
animated, yeah,
guy?
205-year-old, right? So
Yes,
I've seen all the Disney
love
movies,
that
right?
movie.
But it makes me think of that scene where they're in, I don't remember exactly what they call, they're in the abyss, right? The in between, I think, is maybe what
Mhm,
they call it. And they peek into the guy and he's like, make a trade, make a trade, make a trade, and he's like, they uncover all that and he like throws everything off his desk and he leaves, like runs out of the building, and it kind of reminds me of that, and it's just such a powerful scene as an adult, right? To see that in a
mhm.
kids movie. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I wanna go
Uh,
rewatch that. It's been a few years, but I've seen it multiple times, and I just remember being very moved.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like a waterworks, anything emotional in a movie, and I'm like, "Boo."
Yeah. They did
My
they
emotions
did
are
to
on
us
my
what your job did to you. They were like, here's a movie about music, and actually it's just packed with life lessons, and it's gonna make you cry.
Mhm. Yes, yes. Oh, I mean, we could go really deep down that rabbit hole right now about, why are we here and soul and human, but we can save
Yeah.
that for the next interview.
Yeah, we'll do that off air. Yeah, for sure, for sure. That every hero has, attributes that make them a hero, right? Villains have attributes that make them a villain. What do you feel are the
Mhm.
attributes that define what a hero is?
Tenacity and enthusiasm are mine in particular. Trustworthiness, tenacity, enthusiasm, I think are the I don't know, TTE would be my trust, trustworthy, tenacious, enthusiastic. I think that that's what makes me a superhero in the coaching world. I think that's what makes me a great mom, a great friend, a great team member. And that's really what being a coach is you're a team member with the person who's hired you. It's almost like you're co-pilots in a way because they've reached out because they're wanting some redirection and they're wanting someone to get their back. And so I think that that's why they would want someone who tenaciously goes to bat for them and but also is cheerleading. And yet I also think that tenacity is about accountability. And sometimes the 2x4 needs to happen, and you hire someone not just to rah rah sis boom bah. You're also hiring someone to be like, look, I've tried it a lot of different ways and it's not working. So this is what I want from you. Like, you do get guidance from your client, but also, kind of pushing the duckling or pushing the bird out of the nest a little bit. So there's a little bit of that, like, let's go, let's go. You got to jump out of the nest today because you've claimed this and you're not in action. So I'm going to support you. If you've said you're going to be in action and you're not, and then you hire me, you're going to get in action.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it reminds me of like personal training, right? I mean, you go to a
Mhm.
personal trainer because you need guidance, right? Like you need
Yeah.
that meal plan, you need the workout plan, right? You need all those things that you
Mhm.
either aren't able to do by yourself, right,
Mhm.
initially, or don't know how to do, right? And
Mhm.
a personal trainer that doesn't hold you accountable is
Mhm.
not a good personal trainer. So if anybody out there's got one of those, fire them immediately or find a different one. But same thing with
Yes.
the brain, right? I mean, our brain is a muscle in
Mhm.
itself, right? And we need to be kept in check from time to time. So I love that you put that out there, that you're not scared to throw a little bow,
Mhm.
so to speak, with people that are all talk, right, and not action. And
Mhm.
obviously, when we're talking about kids, a little softer. I'm sure you're not, shoving them against the wall and saying you need to do this, right? But um, yeah, no, that's so good. I love that. TTE. We're gonna have to get a suit made up for you.
There we go.
TTE. I
TTE.
love it.
Tenacious, enthusiastic.
There you
Yes.
go. There you go.
Yeah,
Now,
I build rapport quickly. But remember also it is the parent. So it's really for me personally, it's when we get to that overwhelm point, it feels like it's the kid, but really it's all about the parent, like coming back to your emotional stability. You've got to know how to emotionally regulate and you got to know how to be in relationship to help the child come to their calm place. Because if
right,
you're matching them in the dysregulation, then you're really no longer the parent in the room. You're kind of like, you're the 3-year-old with the 3-year-old. because you've gone there. You've gone there to that, like, I'm upset too, and that's
Yeah.
not the. And I talk about the 3 levels of the brain. And when you're in the solution finding is when you're the adult. And they say that the frontal lobe doesn't even fully develop until we are 25. So you get to be in the frontal lobe. I mean, of course, we're going to drop down to the emotional or just the survival instinct. Those are the 3 levels. That's solution finding, emotions are running the show, and then just like complete survival instinct. Like everything's off grid. We're just responding from our base. Like they call it the lizard brain. you know Fight, flight, freeze,
Interesting. Yeah.
appease. But yeah, so it's really about supporting the parent and helping them come back to that stable place.
I love that. And I want to ask you to give a little bit of a free advice here before we get on in the next question. For parents that maybe struggle in that emotional state, right, where
Mhm.
they can't get out of it. And I mean, I've been guilty of it in the past, right? Hopefully it's everybody and not just me, right? But yeah, I think everybody kind of gets in that spot where it's like, oh, stop. Like my son right now loves to just spill stuff out. I'm like, like why? And I've noticed that when I react in that, right, he's like, versus, okay, let's clean it up, right? Like, not a big deal, those kind of things. And I think back to a quote, they're never going to remember the milk that was spilled, but they're going to remember how you react to that. Right. So I think it
Yeah.
kind of leaves that lasting impression as well. So
Mhm.
what are some tips maybe that you give parents out there that find themselves in that emotional state on maybe how to get out of that or not even, avoid getting into that situation altogether?
Right. I would have them do 2 things. I would YouTube search PRIDE. PRIDE is languaging. It's an acronym for how to talk to your child. So I would have them look up the PRIDE language with parent interactive therapy. So look that up, and that's just your homework from this interview. But that's not really about the triggers. So when you're triggered, what I teach my clients and the process I take them through is, imagine that your car is backed into, or your nose of your car is up against a big rock, and you're in a parking lot, so you're squished in on both sides. So that's kind of what being triggered, it can feel like all of a sudden your body is maybe it's heating up, maybe your brain is getting fuzzy, but you're kind of pinned in, and you're noticing that you're starting to get emotionally dysregulated. Maybe you're going to cry, maybe you're going to yell, maybe you're going to run away, but that's the trigger. So imagine that you are the car, or you are in this car. Some of the steps are reverse, neutral, drive. So you cannot go through the boulder. You just can't with your car. I mean, you can try, but it's not going to work. So you've got to reverse your car. And then even if you're in an automatic, it does move through neutral, and then you can drive off. Okay. So you're going to reverse, and reverse it means just recognize what's happening in your body, recognize the thoughts or lack of thought that are happening, but start to notice your own trigger signs, because we all have unique trigger signs. Some people feel cold, some people feel hot, some people, like I said, notice their brain starts to get fuzzy. Some people's ears start to burn, or whatever's unique to you. But you've got to start noticing, even if you think about this morning when you might have yelled, or think about yesterday or the day before, or maybe it was a month ago or 6 months ago. But try to go back and then start to notice the feelings. Like maybe there's a work meeting where someone challenges you, and you start to feel something. You start to feel a reactivity happening. So you've got to reverse away from the boulder, which is to recognize what's happening in your body. That's step number 1. And neutral. So then once you're out of the parking spot, you turn your car to get going in a new direction, right? So new direction. To get yourself going in a new direction, you have to be able to calm down. You have to have some kind of calming technique. Maybe it's tapping your fingers like under the table, or tapping your leg. I highly recommend breath. Utilize some kind of lengthening of your breath. So this is the new direction. So you've reversed, and now you're neutral in a new direction. And then the last one is drive. This is when you can have action. So you're going to finally interact with the situation. But you've already recognized what's happening. You've you've been through neutral going in a new direction, and that's your calming technique. And then you can react from a place of integrity, from a place of intention. What kind of relationship do I want with this kid? Like you said, Gino, it's not the spilled milk, it's the parent's reaction to the spilling of the milk. And that's going to imprint on your kid forever. If you're overreactive all the time, they're going to start thinking like, I'm a mess up. Nothing I do is right. I must not be valuable. I must not be lovable, because so much reactivity is always happening when I make mistakes. And then they don't take risks, and then they're not courageous. And you see where I'm going with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it does make sense, right? It all comes together, right? And it all starts with the foundation, which as parents is us, right? So very, very powerful. Last question for you, Andrea. If you had to pick any superhero out there that relates best to Andrea Luzon, who would that be? And tell us a couple reasons why.
Oh my gosh, hold on. That was not like, you know what? I wish I could think of more superheroes. I watch all the Marvel movies, and there need to be more female role models. But you know what? I'm gonna go with Batgirl,
Okay.
because I really think a lot of it is about tools. I think she's wicked smart. I honestly think that she's not even always a real character, but I mean, they're all made up anyway. So I'm gonna go with Batgirl and say that it's like about tools, utilizing your tools, which is like your brain, and then like the skills and things that you've been using. So yeah, like intellect and using your tools. I'm gonna go with Batgirl.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. How can anybody out there that sees this, that's watching, how can they keep up with what you're doing, follow you? How can they get involved with you if they'd like to hire you?
Well, the best place that is the most consistent is my website, which is andrealuzon.com. So Andrea, LUZON.com. That is the best one. Right. Let's see. You and I were just talking. I mean, Facebook is great. Andrea Luzon. I do have my married name, Andrea Luzon Coates, on Facebook. You were just kind of giving me a little bit of a row, because right now my Instagram is ADHD Love Legacy. And I'm still kind of feeling into, is that the best fit? So the website is always the best way to book a session with me, or to get on my contact list to stay up to date with everything going on.
Absolutely. And check out her YouTube channel as well. She's got a ton of great videos up there, some diagnosis type videos, some kind of help videos that are up there as well. So definitely go give those a watch. And Andrea, again, thank you so much for coming on. You're so awesome.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure, Gino. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Everybody out there, have a good day, and you have a good day as well. Enjoy that the woods out there. It's so
Yes.
beautiful. I'm like at
I think
peace just looking at it.
I think we're going swimming today, so I'm excited to get on the water.
I love it. Right on. Well, you enjoy that. Everybody out there, have a good day. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Hey, are we still live? Hey guys, we're still live. Hey guys, this is Kevin Kwok, founder of J29 Creative Group. So who are we? We're a marketing agency here in Kansas City. We're all about a holistic approach to marketing that builds your brand and nurtures online community. But to be honest with you, you guys don't care.